sermon reflection. They have recently attended a Cursillo, and part of the Cursillo's theme now is come and see, go and tell. So I wanted to provide them with an opportunity to go and tell a little bit of their story. I first want to start, though, with the gospel. Wasn't that a lot of fun? So let me dispel some myths about the gospel. It has nothing to do with money. Nothing. It is not about the gospel of prosperity. It is not about let's gain heaven by paying things and, whatever. It's not about investing in CDs at 0.00025%. It has nothing to do with money. The talents that we hear about in the gospel are gifts, talents from God. The easiest way to say things about the talents that God has given us is that if we use them, they grow. And if we don't use them, they wither. So God, think of what God's gifts would be to us. That's why this gospel has nothing to do of this world. Really, nothing. The gifts that God would give us, we'll start with the biggest one. It is the gift of love. And you and I know that when we love, love grows. It amplifies. It reaches out. It ripples. It gets bigger. It's wonderful. That's an example of a gift God gives us. That's how we are to use that gift. Really, use is probably the wrong term because it's an expression of our relationship with God who loves us. The more we give of God's gift of love to others and to ourselves, to the world, the more that gift grows inside of us. Other gifts: peace, patience, respect, kindness. These are the talents that God has given to us. We do not want to be afraid of our talents. We want to step out and share and give the gifts that God has given us. Linda, I know that you have some words about some of that. So, ready?
Yeah, I think so. It's harder when it's all the people I see all the time. It was easier at the youth club. Basically, when I looked at the letter of Paul to the Thessalonians, I was really struck by this whole notion. Is this not working? Is it working okay? Okay. That's all right.
We're wired.
Thank you. We're wired. Yeah, we're wired. But in Paul's letter to the Thessalonians, he talks a lot about being awake. Stay awake, stay awake. And there are times in my life when I fall asleep. And I'm not aware of the presence of God. And I listen to that and I hear about wearing the breastplate of love and faith and wearing a helmet with a hope of salvation. And I can do that during good times. And I do it quite well during good times. But I need a lot of support to do it during difficult times. And one of the things that gave me a tremendous amount of support was the Cursillo weekend. And it wasn't even just the people who put on the weekend, and they take loving care of you the entire weekend. There are so many opportunities to be close to them, close to one another, close to Christ in that environment. But then the support that I got back here at home. Lynn Keane was my sponsor. Sue Clary was just wonderful, taking me there, being with me, taking me home. And the whole parish was supportive of me. And I felt like that ever since I've come to St. Luke's. St. Luke's is just an amazing place. And one of the things that I was struck by when Paul is saying to the Thessalonians, you're doing it right. And at the end he says, therefore encourage one another and build up each other as indeed you are doing. And I thought that was a perfect way to describe St. Luke's. That's exactly what I get from St. Luke's. So coming back to St. Luke's for me was just a wonderful opportunity. And I'm lucky enough to have a wonderful Cursillo reunion group. And I see a lot of the members out here in the audience smiling and giving me their support. And with that reunion group, one of the things we ask each other when we meet each week is, when was it that you last felt the closest to Christ? In the last week, can you think of a time? And this last week, I realized I couldn't. And I suddenly realized that I've been asleep, because I know God's there. I always know that Christ is right next to me, but sometimes I don't pay attention to him, and I don't notice that he's there. And if I'm stressed and distracted with stress and worry, and I'm not doing things well enough, and all of that kind of stuff that comes into my life, I lose sight of him. And it always reminds me of the Footprints in the Sand poem, which is one of my all-time favorite things. And most of you, I'm sure, have read that, but quickly I'll tell you what it's about. It's a woman having a dream, and I think of it as a woman because I relate to it, having a dream, and she's walking on the beach with God, and she looks back and she sees two sets of footprints, but she can look back on her entire life, and she sees that during the times when she's most stressed, most worried, most in the worst situations of her life, that there's only one set of footprints. And so she says to God, why, when I'm in so much need of you, why is it then you abandon me? And he responds to her, my dear, dear child, it is then that I carried you. And I love that, and it reminds me that even when I'm not feeling Christ, when I'm not feeling his presence, he's there, and he's holding me, and he's carrying me, and he's just waiting for me to wake up and notice him. I get so much support from St. Luke's that being able to go out into the world, to share talents, to be kind, to be patient, to be all those things that Father talked about. I really need the support of my dear Christio friends and all of you, and I appreciate being here at St. Luke's. Thank you.
How about you, David? You're on.
Well, I was always taught, watch out for somebody who's going to say a few words and then takes out some notes. But at Casilla, they gave us a little prayer book, and we carried this around. It had prayers for morning, evening, lunch. And there's one that kept hitting me upside the head like a 2x4. It comes from John. You've all heard it before. I am the vine, you are the branches. Those who abide in me and I in them bear much fruit. Because apart from me, you can do nothing. You did not choose me, but I choose you. And I appointed you to go and bear fruit. Fruit that will last. I assume that didn't mean go out and have more children. But it was incomplete. It wasn't a full meaning yet. And Father Bill, in his inspiration, gave those of us who are about to be confirmed a few pages of Scripture. And there was the finish. It comes from Galatians. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such things there is no law. In my years of law enforcement, I dealt with the exact opposite. Blind hatred, horrible sorrow, aggression, impatience, unimaginable cruelty and evil, unfaithfulness, abuse, and lack of self-control. Had a hard time with a lot of those memories. I went to a healing service, and the young priest there helped me not to forget, but to bury some of those memories so that I don't waste my time and effort and gifts remembering them. I was trapped in the past. Casilla helped me get out of that past. And the Spirit doesn't go off like a firecracker flashbang. Sometimes it takes a few days. And after confirmation, I was unpacking my car, helping with some of the cooking from music live, and his car pulled up in the driveway. Out stepped two elderly ladies. Given my age, if I say elderly, I'm talking maybe 120. Both of them clutching big, thick books with golden gilded edges and multicolored ribbons dangling down. They want to know, have you heard the good news? Well, just coming from Casillo and being confirmed and having the bishop put his hands on my head, I was still in the afterglow, and I said, yes, I have. She said, oh, do you read the Bible? And that famous quote from the movie Patton raced through my head. Didn't make it to my lips, but I said, yes, I do. She held up her big, thick book and said, well, then you know that all the horrible, and terrible, and evil things that are happening in the world today, we are prophetically right on schedule for the end of time. I said, no, I'm saving that part for last. They were trapped in the future, preparing for an event that could come in the next 5 minutes, or the next 5 million years, wasting their time and energy and talents to get a little ID card so they would be first in line. And I thought, if that's the way it is, why all this? Given the square footage of our parish hall, it's twice as big as the church. Every alphabet organization meets in our parish hall. If that's the case, if give up, there's nothing you can do, just sit back, relax, get your card, and wait for the thunder and lightning, then why did we bring food into the food bank last Sunday? Why next Sunday are we going to bring in blankets? Why last month did we bring in jackets for our veterans who gave so much and got so little in return? Why do we waste our time with young students who are having trouble in math and science? So maybe their grades can go up, they can get a grant, or maybe a scholarship and change their life, and maybe the lives of their children. Because this church is in the present. From the present, you can change the past, and you can change the future. When asked, was I proud I went to Casillo? Yes, I'm proud I went to Casillo. But I'm even more proud to say, I go to St. Luke's. And I'd like to thank Art, my sponsor, chauffeur, mentor, guide, ferry payer, lunch getter, for all of his help. Thank you, Art.
So we have these beautiful gifts that have been shared with us. It takes courage to stand up in front of your friends and colleagues and share with them something that is important going on in your life. This is an example of our brothers and sisters stepping forth in courage to share the talent, the gifts that God has given them. We are the vine. He is the vine. We are the branches. There is nothing that we can do without the life force of Jesus flowing through us, giving us what we need for that moment. We have these abundance of gifts. Let us love one another. It is in this that we will know the joy of our Master, our loving God. Love and peace